So we thought, well, either nobody's doing it because it's a terrible idea, or it's just that nobody's thought of it yet. And we hoped and then discovered that it was the latter. Hi, I'm Lindsay, this is David, and welcome to Bella, our van. So we first decided to do a van conversion just over 11 years ago. We'd gone away camping, somebody else had a camper van. We were in a tiny little two-man tent, and I just thought it'd be a really fun project to do together, not least because I already knew how practical David was, and I just thought it'd be a really fun joint project because I loved sewing and making curtains and that kind of thing. And he could do all the rest.
Well.
Bella is a medium wheelbase sprinter, and we have adapted her to fit all 5 of our family in here. One of the first things you might notice is these 2 flip down seats. They get commented on a lot because they're so slimline and really practical, because they work as full seats, got proper 3-point seat belts. We added those in when we had our twins and suddenly realised that we couldn't actually fit all 5 of us in our van anymore. We want to show them how the whole seating and bed arrangement works. So first of all, we've got these bench seats and the table. And this was kind of designed to fit us and our friends round at the time that we did the conversion, and now happily fits us and the 3 kids round for breakfast, lunch and dinner. And then we've got a pretty straightforward process to turn it into a super king size bed. So the table slots in, and then David made this kind of fix-all piece which both holds the table in and also stops the cushions from slipping out and stops anything from falling down. So that kind of replaced lots of different bits that we initially had. Anyway, then you stuff the cushions into the middle, and it is an unbelievably comfortable super king size bed. So yeah, that's definitely one of the highlights, and lots of people who go away in Bella say that they have the best night's sleep that they've had of their lives, which is a pretty nice feature. There's a lot of people who really want a fixed bed, and for us that was never a consideration because we wanted to have such a big table space, so that was our priority.
To add an extra bed in here, our eldest is 5 years old now, we've installed a cab hammock. This is something that's quite common in the classic VWs. So this is a product that was designed for a T2, I think. So it's a little bit small for this van, and I needed to do some adaptation to get the brackets to work in here. I basically had to make up my own brackets. But I put the bracket, once the brackets are installed, it's very quick to fit. Take the headrests away. You've got to have it as low as possible to try and get nice headroom and as much of the width as possible, because they are quite wide, but also not be interfered by the steering wheel and the rest of the seating arrangement. There's 4 hooks that are fixed, bolted to the structure of the vehicle, and then this extending pole means it's very flexible and probably fit in pretty much any vehicle, I would imagine. That hooks either side there, and then the other side hooks up the front like this. It's rated for 60 kilos, which I think is probably pushing it a bit. And as I say, it's a little bit shorter than would be ideal for a sprinter, so there's a bit of space here. What I tend to do is pop the car seats upside down there, and any luggage you've got, just to stop duvet and pillow sliding off the end of it.
One of the things that we've always tried to do with our own conversion, and actually with Quirky Campers in general, is to challenge kind of the conventional norms that people have around camper van conversions. So one of the interesting things that's become a norm is the grey carpet liner inside a camper van that's incredibly commonly used. Pretty much only one shade of grey as well, usually. So when we decided we wanted to cover this area, because it just didn't look very nice anymore, we started looking into what kind of materials you could use and how flexible you could be with that and what options there were. And eventually came to the conclusion that we could use anything that stretched. So we went to our local fabric shop and found this amazing 4-way stretch gold lycra, and used that to coat our headlining instead of grey carpet. And we love it. Brings a bit of bling and sparkle, and it's just something really different. So yeah, you can use whatever you want, basically, anything that stretches.
For night time, really important, especially with little ones, you can get it really nice and dark. So we've got this shutter, which is wrong way up and back to front. Goes in here, and then on the back. For this window, we've got another one that just slots in here with a little pin. It's all very mechanical, makes it nice and simple and replaceable and easy to use. And on the other side, we've got this entirely pointless but rather cute cabinet. It was originally intended as a drinks cabinet, and it opens like that. But we don't actually use it really because it just rattles around too much.
But it is handy to keep a book in,
Yeah,
and your jewellery when you take it off at night, and your phone, and just tuck a few little bits in there.
The electric system runs on 12 volt. There's a solar panel which charges a leisure battery. The leisure battery is connected to the main engine battery and the alternator when the engine is running by a split charge relay. All the lighting is very low wattage, so it's all LEDs, and the radio doesn't actually use that much, so the only real drain on power is the 12 volt fridge. The battery that I've got in here is a lithium phosphate battery, which is an amazing piece of kit and has a huge capacity. It's the same size as a regular 110 amp hour lead acid battery, but you can use far more of the 130 amp hours that it's got than you would in an equivalent lead acid. So it feels a little bit like having 3 great big lead acids, but they all fit straight underneath the passenger seat and don't affect the overall weight too much.
I'll show you the kitchen next. This is, as you can see, it's a pretty simple kitchen unit. We've got a 2-hob stove and a small sink. For us, again, it wasn't a priority to have a grill or an oven. We just wanted to make the maximum use of the space, and because this is something that we do for kind of weekend and week-long getaways, we knew that we could cope without an oven for a week. We've also got, this is one of my favourite features, we've got this pull-out drawer, which then becomes extra chopping space and prep space, or you can use it as a dish rack, basically, if you're washing up. Then we've got this, so everybody has to figure out a way to stop their drawers from flying out when they're driving around, and obviously in a traditional camp van or motorhome you'll have the sort of clicky things. Our little cunning solution here is just these golf tees, which can be easily replaced if they get broken. So we've got all the kitchen stuff that we need in here. We've just got a bit of extra storage under the sink here. And then the fridge, we've gone for a fairly simple fridge system. It just comes out on a drawer because it's a top-loading Waco fridge, and then tucks away. It was pretty lucky that we found somewhere for it to fit, because initially we didn't have a fridge in here. And then when we decided we needed one, we kind of had to look through every fridge under the sun to find one that had the right dimensions to fit in this little space, but it worked out. This is our little tea and coffee cupboard where we keep all our drinks, and for all our customers as well, this is Bella's little tea box. So you can see we've got a lovely selection of teas here, because you know the main thing about being in a camper van is that you can drink as much tea as you want, wherever you want. You can just stop, put the kettle on and have tea, and so it's very important to be well stocked for that.
The gas system in here is the gas bottle. It's a camping gas bottle about this big, 4 kilos. It's in a gas locker in the back of the van, and it has a copper pipe which runs underneath the vehicle, comes up here, it's got a shut-off valve just behind here and straight into the cooker. The water system has a tank which is underslung, 60 odd litres I think it is. I don't have a waste tank in here, so it just runs straight out the plug, straight out the bottom of the vehicle. If you are somewhere sensitive where that's a problem, underneath the sink here there's a little trug, and you can just chuck that underneath the vehicle to catch anything. But for most places, campsites, festivals, etc., a little bit of washing up water and that kind of thing is never going to be a problem.
So when we converted it, we were in our early 20s. We were spending a lot of time at festivals around the UK, around Europe, lots of time at weddings. So it was just kind of for all of that kind of stuff. We never lived in it full time, but we just did lots of sort of smaller and longer trips, lots of travels to the south of France and Holland, Belgium, that kind of thing. But like I said, one of the key things for us was that we wanted to be able to host in it, and we wanted to be able to cook meals and have lots of people sitting around the table. So that was kind of the central concept for the design of the van. And then it's just really had to continue to adapt as our lives have adapted. So we knew that we wanted to go away for 6 months. We had arranged to go to Kenya to work. And And because we weren't being paid there, we couldn't afford to pay for the cost. So that was basically what inspired Quirky Campers. We just couldn't bear to sell it after we'd put all this work into the conversion. But we also couldn't afford to keep it on the road. So that kind of seemed like a good way to go. But there wasn't anybody who was renting out vans like this. We absolutely trawled the internet, and the only thing that we could find were VWs for rent, and then also sort of the big white plastic fantastic motorhomes, and nobody was doing anything different. So we thought, well, either nobody's doing it because it's a terrible idea, or it's just that nobody's thought of it yet. And we hoped and then discovered that it was the latter. So we just made ourselves a website. We decided to call it Quirky Campers rather than Quirky Camper or Bella Camper, because we kind of had this dream that maybe other vans would join the family at some point. What we found was that people kept hiring Bella and then wanting to go and do their own conversion and hire it through us. So we kind of ended up having a bit of a Quirky Campers family tree, where somebody that hired Bella then did their own conversion, and then somebody that hired that conversion. Ashley.
What generation do you reckon we're on?
Well, we must be on like 5th generation.
Reckon 5th already? Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Then went on and did their own conversion, and so sort of slowly but surely, the family grew and grew, and it's kind of coincided with the whole explosion of the idea of van life, and lots of big YouTubers and all kinds of people who are going out there really displaying all the amazing creations that are around. So Quirky Campers is just coming up for its 8th birthday. We've been going for ages, but we've grown very slowly and organically.
The first 2 years was just this van. And we both had full-time jobs and we weren't doing anything else. And then since then we've kind of doubled every year. So it started with an additional 3, and then the following year was 5, and so on. And now we're at 65, something around about there.
When you're watching this video, it may well already be 70 or 80, who knows?
The gas in here, I've got a bottle in a tank right at the back underneath. It's in a little gas... mind blank. What's it called? It's called a gas... It's not
chamber?
a gas safe.
Box? It is a safe. Oh, no, it's
not.
Box.
Gas locker.
Locker.
Cool, let's start again.
Yeah.
Ready when you are.